Novigrad, one of the largest cities, if not the largest city in the north. Novigrad is home to over 30,000 people and is known for its reputation of being a free city and therefore not being controlled by any kingdoms. Because of its status as a free city and because of the number of inhabitants within it, has led to a wealth of criminal activity being conducted within its walls. Most criminal activity is being conducted by four main factions. They go by individual names but are all under the umbrella of the Big Four. In this video, we're going to be looking into the Big Four and taking a closer look at each individual faction and their leaders. But before we get into it, please consider clicking the subscribe button to stay up to date with the latest lore videos I bring out. So, what is the Big Four? The Big Four refers to the four leaders of Novigrad's criminal underground. These four leaders control every crime that happens within Novigrad, such as pickpocketing, muggings, illegal fighting arenas, casinos, weapon smuggling, and contract killings. These leaders are Sigismund Dijkstra, Bedlam, Karlova, and Cyprian Wiley. Though these four somewhat work together often to avoid blatantly stepping on one another's toes, they would turn on each other in a heartbeat if need be, which we'll get into later in the video. Each of these leaders has a group of loyal followers that are the ones that carry out the crimes the leaders order them to. I guess you could think of the Big Four as kind of like the mafia of Novigrad. The first leader we're going to be looking at is Sigismund Dijkstra, otherwise known in Novigrad as Siggy Reuven. Dijkstra is a physically imposing man, standing just shy of 7 feet tall. Dijkstra is a very well connected and smart man, due to his time he spent studying at the Oxenford Academy and the time he spent in the Redanian Secret Service. Though Dijkstra was brought up as just a mere commoner, this was not public knowledge, as even the king referred to him as Count when in public places. After the completion of his study at the Oxenford Academy, Dijkstra joined up with the Redanian Secret Service and soon rose through the ranks quickly due to his sharp mind and was appointed as head of Redanian intelligence. After troubling times in the north, Dijkstra went into hiding after an assassination attempt was made on his life, as he found out who assassinated King Vizimir, the former king of Redania. After going into hiding, Dijkstra took on the name of Siggy Reuven to keep a low profile and remain hidden from the assassins that wanted his head. Dijkstra, now laying low in the free city of Novigrad, used his skills he acquired over his lifetime and years spent in the Redanian Secret Service to become one of the leading figures of the criminal underground. Dijkstra bases his operations out of a bathhouse located in the affluent district of Gildorf, which is located in the northern part of Novigrad. Dijkstra bases his operations out of this bathhouse due to an injury he sustained to his ankle that healed poorly and now requires him to soak it in hot water daily to alleviate the pain. Incidentally, this injury was caused by none other than Geralt of Rivia, who broke Dijkstra's ankle when the two of them faced off during a coup on Thanid Island. Dijkstra is more the brains of the operation when it comes to crime, and his henchmen that will go and carry out orders in exchange for a cut of the money. Though Dijkstra leverages the use of his henchmen for smaller crimes, he is also known to personally appear on the scene for bigger, more important tasks. An example of this is when Geralt helps Dijkstra in his investigation into a robbery that took place at the bathhouse, and Dijkstra meets with Geralt personally at one of the sites Geralt is searching for clues. This gives you a glimpse into the way Dijkstra conducts his criminal activities, as it shows that if the job is something serious, he isn't afraid to step out into the field and hire the very best to get the outcome he wants. This is an obvious throwback to his days working with the Redanian Secret Service, and shows he still conducts operations with sharp tactics and efficiency, which contributed to his rise to the top of the Novigrad criminal underground. Though Dijkstra isn't a part of any political quarrels regarding Redania anymore, he is still a patriot of his country, and deep down still wants Redania to thrive as it once did. This is shown when Dijkstra proposes an idea to Geralt, which involves the assassination of the current king of Redania at the time, which was King Radovid V, otherwise known as Radovid the Stern. Dijkstra, along with Vernon Roche, Vess, and the spy Tala, devise a plan to lure Radovid to a house on Temple Isle, to which he will be ambushed and killed. In the beginning, Dijkstra has different plans to his co-conspirators, which are to continue the war with Nilfgaard, with him at the head of the fight as Chancellor of Redania. This is obviously not the plans the others had in mind, and on the completion of the assassination of Radovid, leaves the future of Dijkstra's life in the hands of Geralt. When the assassination is completed, Dijkstra reveals his plans to the others and informs them that this is where their story ends, as he plans to kill them to take up his plan. In the timeline where Geralt stays neutral and doesn't step in, Dijkstra kills his co-conspirators and takes on the role as the Chancellor of Redania, to which the war with Nilfgaard continues. If Geralt steps in and takes the side of Vernon Roche and the others, Dijkstra meets his end along with his criminal organisation. From all that, you can conclude that Dijkstra is an ambitious man with the mind of a genius, and not just an everyday mob boss concerned with small-scale crime. The second leader we'll be looking into is Francis Bedlam, who goes by the alias of the King of Beggars. Francis is described as a pragmatic man that uses his smarts to manage his criminal activities. The title the King of Beggars was a jab at the fact that the free city of Novigrad had known no king's rule for nearly 200 years, and is a title that purposely mocks other pompous rulers. Though Francis has a hand in many different criminal activities, he mainly focuses on managing a network of thieves, beggars, tramps and street urchins who are all spread throughout the city of Novigrad, that not only collect coin for themselves and Francis, but also act as contacts that provide him with information and gossip from around the city. These contacts do their part to earn coin, to which Francis takes a cut of for the upkeep of his court, and exchange grants them refuge in the Putrid Grove, which you could call his kingdom. The Putrid Grove is where Francis bases his operations out of, and is located in the southern district of Lacehorse in the city of Novigrad. This district is one of the poorer areas of Novigrad that contains many prostitutes and beggars, which is an ideal place for the Putrid Grove, as those are the main type of people that seek refuge there. The residents of the Putrid Grove are not restricted to just beggars or prostitutes, as many magic users also seek refuge there in order to escape the persecution of the witch hunters. In my opinion, this quote said from Francis to Geralt really sums up the Putrid Grove and gives some insight into the mind of Francis. The quote is, "They call this place the Putrid Grove, but it's the rest of Novigrad that's putrefied. This here's the last bastion of normality, sanity, reason." From that quote, you can see Francis feels deeply about what he's doing at the Putrid Grove and sees it as more than just an asset for collecting coin. This separates Francis Bedlam from the rest of the members of the Big Four, as it shows he's not just in it for himself, as he also provides refuge in exchange for work from those in need. Like Dijkstra, Francis is also very ambitious. Francis has the ultimate goal to reshape the free city of Novigrad and make it truly free. His plan involves ridding the city of superstition by removing the Church of the Eternal Fire's power. Like Dijkstra, his plans are big, but sadly, we don't get to see his vision come to life, possibly due to the outcome of the war with Nilfgaard. All in all, you can see that Francis, like Dijkstra, is also ambitious, but is also reasonable when it comes to offering a helping hand for a fair exchange. The next leader will be Karlova, known also as Cleaver. Cleaver is very distinguishable compared to the other crime bosses, as he's a dwarf with distinct tattoos and a mohawk. Cleaver is the more hot-headed of the four crime bosses, and is more inclined to resolve problems with outright violence opposed to tactful strategies. This can be seen when Cleaver proposes his solution to finding Horsun Jr., which involves making noise at all known places Jr. likes to hang around in order to flush him out, which obviously isn't a very well thought out plan. This plan gives the impression that Cleaver acts from raw emotion, which in this case seems to be anger, opposed to taking a step back and coming up with a more thought out plan of engagement. More insight into Cleaver's temperament and overall personality can be gained from looking at the way Cleaver conducts his criminal activity. Cleaver felt that he had every right as an inhabitant of Novigrad to run his own business, which on its own sounds like a reasonable train of thought, but the fact that most of Cleaver's so-called business was illegal is something else entirely. Though most of his business activities were illegal, Cleaver didn't differentiate that from the business of a merchant selling goods and labelled anyone that questioned his business practices, no matter what race they were, a vile racist. And one thing you don't want to be to Cleaver is a racist. Cleaver felt that the only fitting thing to do with racist scum was to slice off their fingers with his own cleaver right before feeding the rest of them to violent and hungry hogs. To be honest, this just makes me laugh. I mean, he's literally pulling the race card on anyone that questions his illegal activity. I love it. One thing that riled him up more than racists were people that tried to pull one over on him, whether it just be as simple as trying to cheat him in a game of Gwent, to someone trying to take his life. He saw no difference in the offence. This is seen when Horson Jr. sends some thugs to Dijkstra's bathhouse during one of the meetings he's attending. After dealing with the thugs, he flips and goes out straight away looking to find Jr. and kill him. Like all the other crime bosses, Cleaver also has henchmen which carry out jobs with and for him. They're mostly dwarves and can be seen around Novigrad wearing black and red and often in masks. These henchmen are simply referred to as hench dwarves. They can mostly be found hanging around the house where Cleaver bases his operations out of. This is located in central Novigrad, just west of Hierarch Square. Unlike the other crime bosses, Cleaver's plans are much more simpler as they don't involve any big plans to take control of the city. His plans more involve keeping his business running and dealing with people that step on his toes. Though he's not as ambitious as the others, he makes up for it in the way that he gets things done, as his techniques, though may not be the most strategic, still get the results he's after and make him and his gang enough coin to live comfortably. Unfortunately, if Geralt helps Triss with evacuating the mages from the city, it ends in Cleaver's death at the hands of the witch hunters. This is because without the mages in the city, the witch hunters turn their attention to the non-humans, which causes Cleaver to be burned at the stake. The final member of the Big Four we're going to be talking about is an interesting one. His name is Cyprian Wiley, but more commonly he is known as Horson Jr. Cyprian gained his place in the Big Four after the death of his father, Alonso Wiley, who was known as Horson and later was known as Horson Sr. Alonso was the previous member of the Big Four and ran illegal casinos, fighting rings and brothels, which were all passed down to his son upon his death, bar one brothel called the Rosemary and Thyme, which he left to Dandelion as he was a big fan of his, believe it or not. Alonso was assassinated by men under orders from his own son Cyprian, which says a lot about Cyprian straight off the bat. Cyprian, like his father Alonso, was a man with sadistic tendencies and little to no morals. This is shown not just in the fact that he killed his own father, most likely to gain his assets, but in the entertainment he keeps at his hideout in Oxenford. Cyprian would constantly order whores to his hideout and then proceed to torture them to death. Cyprian is a truly sick and twisted man. Cyprian shows his lack of morals, not just to whores and other victims, but to his fellow crime partners as well. This is shown when Cyprian breaks the unwritten peace treaty between Novigrad's criminal groups and tries to have the other members of the Big Four assassinated. Cyprian attempts this assassination under the orders of King Radovid in exchange for some coin. The reason for this was that Radovid wanted an all-out gang war to erupt in Novigrad, to which he would come in and save the city while simultaneously taking command and becoming the ruler of Novigrad. Cyprian had a hand in many different criminal activities, but mainly focused on his illegal fighting pit and casino, which are his big earners. His arena is a rundown structure located in the sewers of Novigrad and is a very popular place among the poorer residents of Novigrad, as here they can bet on fights and win coin. The arena is mostly run by Cyprian's right-hand man Igor, who also goes by the name of the Hook. Igor is in charge of the matchmaking and setting up of the bets. All kinds of warriors can fight in the arena, from mercenaries to wyverns, and even at one point Geralt fights in the arena. Cyprian's casino is a 3-story building located on the east side of Novigrad and is the biggest illegal casino in the city. The main clientele of the casino includes scammers, thieves, fencers and corrupt politicians, as these are the only people willing to fork out the 200 crown buy-in price. The 3 stories of the building are split up into different sections, the first floor being a pub, the second being the main betting/gaming room, and the third floor being the high stakes room, or is even sometimes used as an interrogation room for players that are considered a bit too lucky by Whoreson. There's been some very famous people that have played here, such as Hierarch Himmelfart himself, who bet and lost his ruby ring in a game of Gwent. Throughout the city of Novigrad, Cyprian's henchmen can be found loitering or causing trouble. They're easily distinguishable by their painted faces and the masks they wear, which resemble jesters. They're also the only henchmen to start fights with Geralt during his time spent in Novigrad. This can be seen if you walk through one of the alleyways in the city. You will get 3 or 4 of them trying to kill you. Geralt discovers that Cyprian had a run-in with Ciri, and therefore immediately follows up on the lead. Geralt finds out where Cyprian is hiding, and goes there to interrogate him. After this interrogation, Geralt has the choice to kill or spare Cyprian. If Geralt spares him, Cyprian is left vulnerable, with his career as a criminal ruined. If spared, King Radovid removes his protection from him, which leaves him open to revenge from all those in the criminal underground he wronged. If Geralt chooses to kill him, then the Doppler Dudu takes his place, but turns him straight, starting a legit business under his name. After starting the mess he did with the Big Four, and then messing with Ciri, he was destined to wind up the way he did. In conclusion, you can see that the leaders of the Big Four share some likenesses, but are all unique in their own ways, and in my opinion, makes this one of the most interesting alliances within the game. It's a shame CDPR didn't include more to do with the Big Four, as I feel this could have made for a real interesting story arc, kinda how they did with the Bloody Baron string of quests. So yeah, that's the lore behind the Big Four. If you like the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing for more Witcher related content. Thanks.